Hi, this is a video we're going to show you how to change out the screen in your Acer Aspire 7736Z-4088. The only tools you're going to need are a small screwdriver with a small Phillips and a small flat screwdriver on the end. That's really about all. A little bit of patience, and I also recommend getting some baggies. We'll use those in a minute here to help keep the screws separate, just in case. First things first, from a safety perspective, make sure it's unplugged and take the battery out. We'll need to get access underneath the battery compartment, but it's always a good idea to take the battery out too, so it's completely off. So, first thing you want to do is, in the system as you get it, to remove the screen, you need to remove 6 screws. Now, on a regular machine, they are underneath some little black rubber covers that are glued on. Those are easy. Just get your fingernail underneath them. They end up being little tiny black dots. I don't know if you can see those, but they're stuck on with glue. Unfortunately, once you've replaced them once, the glue doesn't stick too well. So might want to find some little bit of rubber cement or something to stick them back on when you're done. For this demo, all you have to do is just get your fingernail underneath it, peel them off, and again, take them, stick them in one of the baggies. There should be 6 of those around the bezel of the screen. So from there, go ahead and remove the 6 screws. The thing I like about this screwdriver is it does have a magnet on the rear end. Just go around the screen, remove all 6 screws, and put them in the bag with little rubber covers. Okay, second step we need to do is close the lid. Inside the battery compartment are 3 small Phillips head screws. So again, use your screwdriver and remove those. I would suggest a second bag and a small box to keep the bags in when you're done. Then finally, the next step, third step is, there are 2 plastic pieces we're removing from this. Obviously, this plastic screen bezel does need to come out. Unfortunately, the plastic hinge covers that are attached to it are really hard to remove, almost impossible, without taking off this top keyboard cover. So there's this top keyboard bezel, I guess you could call it. If you just kind of get your fingernails in here and pull up, if it flexes a little bit, it's just got some little tiny plastic lips that are holding it in, but that does pop it off. Comes off pretty easy. Shouldn't be any wires attached to this, but as always, just double check yours in case it's slightly different, if you have a slightly different model. But pull this up, and that should be free to go. Set that off to the side over here. Next one is, we should be able, similar thing with the screen. Now this one, learned a trick. If you get your fingers on the inside, just carefully put your fingers in. The screen's broken, obviously, so not that big of a concern, but by putting pressure on it, but you shouldn't need to put much pressure on it anyway. Let's go ahead and peel up here. Now again, once you get to these bottom hinges, there's a couple things that are going to be a challenge with this screen. One, there's a magnet up in here that helps it know when it's open and closed. It'll keep wanting to hold itself back against the screen, so that's kind of a pain. But once you get the keyboard off and you get this up, then you can carefully, and I'll probably swatch over to the flat screwdriver, kind of put it in that hinge and help it work that hinge cover up and out. So again, that's all you need. Here's that magnet that'll keep catching on you, but other than that, it's not too bad. Once you get that top keyboard cover off, bezel off, that works pretty well. Now, from here, you can see the actual physical screen, and the next step we need to do is, I like unhooking the webcam next. A little tiny set of wires going here, basically just a USB connection, but you got the wires, it's thin little ones, and it's all protected. What you want to do is carefully back that off so it disconnects from the webcam. There's a reason for that in a second. I'll show you. Now, the 6 screws I took off at the outside actually did hold this metal frame and hinge to the black plastic, so it's going to be kind of wobbly, but that's okay. The next step you need to do is there are 4 small screws around the perimeter. So again, get a plastic bag, little tiny screws. These are probably some of the more important ones that we've taken out, as they do actually hold the metal frame to the metal picture. Here's also a good example of where they'll come out quickly, and if they fall, they could get lost. So again, I like to kind of just hold them in place with the thumb and then get my magnet in to get them out. There's only 4 of those. Before you take out, or before you actually get to the point of removing the screen, do take a moment to pause, and I'm going to have you grab a towel for the next step. Because what we end up doing, now it's important on this screen obviously, but we do want to lay the screen down. This again is a broken one. And then lay it on the towel here. A couple things. First of all, there's a ribbon cable running that connects up here to the bottom of the screen. That's the display. And up here is those 4 small wires that were connecting into the webcam. When this originally was built, there was a lot of sticky glue on this webcam wire that held it to the back of the screen. And if you pull it down, you could pull those cables. So if you undo up there, it'll fold down. Carefully peel it away from the screen. It's just got a few little glue dots holding it. The next thing you need to do to disconnect, this is an LED model, so it only has the single connection. If yours is a got the cold cathode ray tube along the sides, giving it light, there's going to be an extra set. This is not that model. This model is LED, so the only thing we have is one more connection here. It's a thin ribbon cable. Now, what they do is they have a thick plastic tape-like thing here holding the ribbon cable in. If you carefully peel up that sticky part, just until it releases the plastic shroud surrounding it, and then you can pull downward away from the connector, and that'll unplug this little ribbon connector. And there you go. We've got the screen out. This is the broken one. I don't think you can see it well, but there is some discoloration there and definitely a bad screen. So, set that off to the side. Here is the new one. Still got the protective screen cover on it and all that. You do want to take that off before you mount it, because there's sticky tabs that hold the screen protector in place, and those are darn near impossible to get off when it's mounted. So, got this. Again, that's why we have the towel down there. You can lay this down, and then now we're just going to reverse the process. First things first is slide the screen up so it's almost completely in, and then take this little thin connector, pull it into place, and again you can use the plastic tab that was on there to kind of help guide it in. Once it's in place and it's seated in well, the next thing you could do, and actually this to me is easier, is take the webcam cable, and before you lay the screen back up into the frame, connect the webcam cable. Easier for bigger fingers to get into. That way, when you lay this up in there, and just give it a little push, carefully, it will sticky it and it'll hold a little bit. Now, we're just literally reversing what we did. Take the 4 frame screws, and I try to normally go from bottom up. As you can see, they are extremely small and tiny. might have to work a little bit to get it in, but once it does, it should just go right in. Don't cinch them up very tight. You could strip the screws out, but that's not probably going to be a problem if you're careful. Back over here, again, I like to start at the bottom on both sides of the frame. Go. Okay, so we've got the frame attached, the screen bezel you can put in place now. Actually, what I would suggest at this point, where we've got it screwed in and secured, not perfectly, not 100%, is go ahead and plug in your power supply and hit the power button over here and verify that the screen comes up. There, that looks good. Before it was a big black area over there, so this definitely the screen is working. And from this point, it's now just putting back the plastic and putting on the screws. So again, this kind of goes in there. I just kind of push it in lightly down below. Now to get it to go on, it's a matter of just pushing and clicking. Oh, probably should do one more thing. For your system, I won't go through it here. If you do power it on with this in this state, you might want to power it all the way up, boot into your operating system, and double check, make sure your webcam does work too. That would be a good thing to check, just in case you didn't get the wires, didn't get the plug on fully. But give that a visual double check. Yep, ours looks good and tight. And then this goes back on. The proper way is you slot it into the front here. Those are the bigger ones. Push these down and then push across the back along the sides. You hear some snapping. It's just the little plastic tabs popping into place. That's all it takes. Then lay your towel down, turn it over, put the screws to go back in the keyboard area in. Three of those. There we go, got those three in. And the final step, these are kind of important, even though these screws might not seem like it. They do hold the plastic outer frame here, bezel, if you will, to the frame and keep the frame and the back cover all tied together. So it does make it a fairly stronger screen and back. Yeah, like starting from the bottom. And those are a little tight. Double check, make sure all those are snapped in place. As far as the rubber covers that are over the screws, I probably won't put those on in this video. I don't have any appropriate rubber cement down here with me. I would probably suggest using a rubber cement as opposed to a super glue or something like that. Mostly for the reason that if you do drip a little bit of super glue on your screen, I don't know what it would do to the plastics. It could fog it up or stick to it and cause other problems. So Rubber cement, normally if you get it on something, if you don't get it off immediately, you do have the option of rubbing it, it'll come right off, and I think that would be the safest thing here. But either way, this is our computer. We just press the screen, power it on one more time, and let's see, it's coming up. Good screen. And looks like Windows is going to start up here, so I think we're done. Good luck in changing yours out, and leave comments below if you have any ideas or comments on this video.